The Denver Broncos have suffered their first major injuries of training camp. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Denver Broncos Syndicate, part of the Sports Syndicate family of channels where we are dedicated to bringing you content about our favorite sports teams. I am your host, Gage Madrid. Before we discuss the injuries to Tim Patrick and Damarié Crockett, if you could just do us a favor and hit the like and subscribe button, it would really help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers by the beginning of the regular season. After getting through the first 5 days of training camp relatively unscathed, the Broncos suffered two major injuries on day 6, which also happened to be the first fully padded practice of training camp. During team periods, wide receiver Tim Patrick went up to catch a jump ball from Russell Wilson down the right sideline. Patrick came down with the ball cleanly, but when he went to make a move on the defender Essane Bassi, his knee buckled and he went down clutching it. Although I wasn't at training camp today due to a flat tire on the way there, many people who were there said that the optics of the injury did not look good at all. After Patrick went down, practice came to a complete standstill as virtually the entire team came up to wish Patrick well. That just goes to show how respected he is amongst his peers. The cart eventually came out to take Patrick into the locker room, and he couldn't put any weight on his leg as he got onto the cart as well as when he got off the cart to go into the locker room. Later in the afternoon, the results of his MRI came back, and as expected, the news was not good. Per Broncos insider Mike Kliss, Patrick's MRI showed a torn ACL, which means season-ending surgery. An absolutely devastating blow to both Tim Patrick and the Broncos offense. Production-wise, Patrick led the team in combined receiving yards over the past 2 seasons with 1,146, along with 11 receiving touchdowns. He brings a rare combination of size, speed, and ball skills. He's become a steady presence on the Broncos offense and has earned the nickname Mr. Reliable. Production aside, he is clearly viewed as one of the key leaders in the locker room, and although he still will be around the building, not having him on the field is really going to sting on multiple fronts. Although Patrick's injury really sucks, the Broncos do have to move forward. In-house, guys such as Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy are really going to have to step it up big time. One positive in this crappy situation is that KJ Hamler has recently returned to practice and he has looked good in limited action. We couldn't be getting KJ back at a better time. Besides the obvious 3, 5th round rookie receiver Montrell Washington has looked good running with the first team offense in place of KJ Hamler. Although Hamler and Washington have completely different skill sets than Patrick, they still figure to see an increase in snaps. This also opens the door for some of the other bigger bodied receivers such as Seth Williams, Tyree Cleveland, Travis Fulgham, Brandon Johnson, and possibly Jalen Virgil. Although we do have plenty of depth at the wide receiver position, we don't have many guys who match Patrick's skill set, so that is one guy who we really could not afford to lose. That's also the case for wide receivers currently available on the open market. Players such as Will Fuller, Emmanuel Sanders, and T.Y. Hilton are on the top of the list. Fuller I want nothing to do with because of his injury history, and T.Y. Hilton is likely on the brink of retirement. If Hilton does play next season, it's likely going to be for Indianapolis. One guy that is likely going to at least intrigue Broncos country is Emmanuel Sanders. I've heard through the grapevine that Sanders and his family have recently moved back to Denver. I'm not exactly sure about Emmanuel's interest level in playing this season, but you have to imagine that George Paton and company will at least make the phone call to Sanders' camp. Another player that has some in Broncos country interested is Odell Beckham Jr. Unfortunately, OBJ isn't likely to be back from his ACL tear that he suffered in the Super Bowl until December. This is a 9 to 12 month injury, and OBJ isn't even 6 months removed from his. Although a phone call could be made to OBJ as we get closer to the playoffs, I don't see anything happening with him anytime soon. Unfortunately, Tim Patrick wasn't the only player at Broncos training camp to go down with a torn ACL today. Before Patrick went down, third-year running back Damarié Crockett went down with a non-contact injury during a special teams period. Crockett later announced on Twitter that his MRI also indicated a torn ACL and that he will also be lost for the season. The Broncos are the 4th NFL team for the former undrafted free agent in 2019 out of Missouri. He appeared in 12 games for the Broncos last season, mostly on special teams, although he did have 3 carries for 7 yards on offense. He was competing for the same role with the Broncos this season, a tough blow for a guy who is already on the roster bubble. Moving forward at the backup running back position behind Williams and Gordon, the Broncos still have Mike Boone on the roster, who I feel is being utilized way more than he was last season, which is definitely good news. The team also has 2022 undrafted free agent Tyreek McAllister on the roster, but you have to imagine that the team will be looking to add another running back within the coming days. A rough day at UC Health Training Center. These 2 injuries really killed the excitement that was supposed to come from the Broncos' first day in pads. Here's to a speedy recovery for both Tim Patrick and Demarie Crockett. Tomorrow is a new day, and now we move forward. I was fortunately able to get a new tire on my car, so we should be back out at UC Health Training Center tomorrow for day 7 of Broncos training camp. Be sure to leave a like on this video, as well as subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss when we upload. And while you're at it, be sure to follow me on Twitter at Gage Madrid NFL for even more Broncos training camp coverage. And for now, this has been another episode of Denver Broncos Syndicate. I am your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out and let's ride.